Because Cory Booker is a motherfucker who was smiling from ear to ear in pictures taken with Yoav Galan and Netanyahu, actual war criminals wanted by the International Criminal Court for genocide and crimes against humanity. So,
and that's, see, I mean, plain as day, man, plain as day. And, you know, I've said it before in other videos and I'll continue to say it, man. Our politicians are bought and paid for. It's all the evidence is there, right wide out in the open for everybody to see. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why you go this hard in the paint against Hassan is because of all the negative things that he said about Israel. That's it. That's the only reason. So you were told, like, you better not go on this show. You better not.
I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
You know where you know where your money is coming from. I dare you to go on Hassan's show. Watch what happened to you.
It's about to go down.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Trey.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Back at it with another video.
Another one.
First and foremost, thanks to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm a new YouTuber, so it's helping me continue to grow. And for those of y'all that are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't cost you anything, and it helps me continue to get out there and grow the channel. Today, we're going to be reacting to a video from the Humanist Report. And obviously, for the last couple of weeks, almost a month at this point, you know, Hassan Piker has been under a lot of, you know, scrutiny and smearing. He's just under attack. He's under fire, right? For a lot of things that he said in the past and things like that, which has brought up the main conversation where should, you know, politicians be willing to platform with him or be seen with him at events and stuff like that. Mainly because he agreed to go out and do an event with Abdul El-Sayed out in Michigan. Yeah, so that's how we'll set up this video, and yeah, we'll go from there.
I think it's safe to say that multiple weeks of hysterical shrieking about Hassan Piker has not produced the results that centrist Democrats hoped for, because a poll conducted by Emerson College found that Dr. Abdul El-Sayed is now tied for first place with Mallory McMorrow in Michigan's Senate race, which is huge because he was in third place in their January poll, and now he's gone all the way up to a tie for first place. Now, this is a huge jump, but with that being said, there is still more than a third of voters undecided. So there's obviously work to be done, but centrists thought that they would be able to blunt his momentum by attacking him for doing an event with Hassan Piker at the University of Michigan, and they tried really, really hard. Abdul El-Sayed's opponent, Mallory McMorrow, stupidly compared Hassan Piker to Nick Fuentes, and members of Congress like Brad Schneider called Piker an unapologetic anti-Semite, but it was obvious from the start that the disingenuous attacks on Hassan Piker were fueled mostly by concern over Abdul El-Sayed's momentum, more so than...
And I'm still so curious as to what, well, I mean, this might just go to show how out of touch these establishment Dems are, because what did you think was going to happen? You're saying all this stuff about Hassan. So some people know who Hassan is. Some people don't know who Hassan is. But you are going to force people to look him up, to Google him, to go YouTube him and all this different stuff. And I'm sorry, if you go as most Democrats, right? You know, most Democrats, most progressives, if you went to, you know, Google Hassan and look up things that he said and look up, if you actually researched it, you would agree with a lot more of his takes. Maybe not how he says things, but you would agree with a lot more of his takes than you would disagree with. So then you would start to question those people that are attacking him. You know what I mean? And, you know, not to mention, if you in turn do the same with Abdul El-Sayed, you know what I'm saying, you'll see what he stands for. And like I said, you wouldn't find much to disagree with if you're already on that side of the aisle. So I really don't understand what they thought the result was going to be, because you lost all the smoke. Like, not all the smoke. You've lost all the juice. Like, yeah, Republicans, you know what I'm saying, don't have any credibility. Donald Trump's credibility is in the toilet. You know, his support's in the toilet. But Dem support is down too. So you expect that you're going to come out throwing all this slander at Hassan Piker and it's going to get you more support? Like, you're already tanking, you know. Israel, you know, the public sentiment surrounding Israel and the war in Gaza and shit, the current war in Iran and stuff like that. It's also tanking as far as like American support. So yeah, man, I don't get why, for one, establishment Dems are still trying to play in our face like this, like so blatantly. And yeah, I don't understand what they thought the result was going to be.
An outrage about Hassan Piker. Just watch this short clip from the video that we did about this a couple of weeks ago where I explained why I thought they were doing this for political reasons. All of these inexplicable attacks on Hassan came out of nowhere, so much so that it felt almost coordinated, and leftists quickly pieced together the real reason why this was happening. Blakely on Twitter speculated that Democrats and insiders must have gotten some polling that is good for Abdul El-Sayed because there's suddenly a smear campaign, and they were proven right just hours later because sure enough, a new poll dropped that showed that Abdul El-Sayed jumped from third place to second place, surpassing Haley Stevens, who is the centrist darling and preferred candidate of genocide supporters. In other words, they probably got wind of the poll, panicked, and told everybody in their group chats to pounce on El-Sayed immediately because he's only going to get more popular if the biggest left-wing streamer goes out to stump for him. And now here we are, weeks later, with Abdul El-Sayed tied for first place and Hassan Piker's name recognition higher than ever. So, masterful gambit, centrist Democrats. You really crushed it with this particular objective. And to be clear, I think that El-Sayed is running a fantastic...
Again, like another moment to show how fucking out of touch and how useless they are. Like, yeah, y'all thought that this was going to be the play. Y'all thought that this was going to work. Y'all are out of your minds. Y'all are so out of touch. Y'all need to go, man. If this is not a sign, you know, as all the other things have been signs, like, yeah, you got to go.
Campaign, so he probably was still going to surge regardless. But I genuinely believe that the attacks on Hassan helped because it turned into this broader conversation about Israel, which forced Democrats to defend their position and defend their support for this terrorist genocidal apartheid state, which is something that their own base does not approve of. So their own attacks backfired, blew up in their faces, and forced them to be the ones to play defense. And at the same time that they were forced to explain their support for Israel, they were also confronted about the hypocritical double standards, and it just did not go well for them, to put it mildly. Case in point, look at how Alyssa Slopkin reacted when she was confronted about her hypocrisy.
I talked with Hassan Piker this week, and he essentially said that there was a double standard on you going on Bill Maher's show versus his Twitch stream. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, first of all, I've never been invited on his stuff, and I've gone on Bill Maher a bunch of times. Look, I have said repeatedly, like, I gotta call balls and strikes, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, coming from the state that I come from. And so that's what I've tried to do as he's come into Michigan. And, you know, I think there are a ton of podcasts or, you know, invites that I've not taken. And every politician has to make their choice. They have to make a decision about what they're going to go on. So I've been on Bill Maher, I think this is my 4th time. That's just how I feel, given some of the things that were said.
Right, and that's how we can tell that you're full of shit, because you claim that you wouldn't go on Hassan's stream due to bigotry, but yet you go on Bill Maher's show all the time, in spite of his overt Islamophobia. So you clearly don't care about bigoted comments, otherwise you would not be going on Bill Maher's show. And
you know what? I hate being that guy that's another one of those guys that's always like, oh, it's all stems from Israel. But come on, like, a lot of this stuff, you just goes back to their support for, support for Israel. That's what it all boils down to.
This is why the attacks backfired, because the base just doesn't agree with you, Alyssa. They're not as gullible as Republican voters who just gobble up whatever bullshit politicians shove down their throats. You actually have to make a compelling argument to convince them, and you failed to do that. But one by one, Democrat after Democrat who attacked Hassan Piker had to come out and eat shit. And it was glorious to watch. Cory Booker was another Democrat who said that he wouldn't go on Hassan Piker's stream. And just look at how well he handled the backlash to that particular position when he was confronted about it on Pod Save America.
I had no idea who this person was until a few days ago. I never heard their name.
That's going around, I think, yeah.
And I still haven't heard him speak even. I haven't heard anything he's done. The man sitting over there is my comms director.
It's almost as if there's a bunch of focus on one random streamer and it's not really the right way to have a big debate. Yeah.
That's my point. Like, so my comms director said to me, oh, you're getting asked this question, would you go on the show? And I'm like, well, who is this person? And all he did, the totality of this person he gave me.
Right there, that guy.
I don't want he's not on camera, so I don't feel like I'm implicating him. The totality of what he did to me was show me 4 or 5 of the most outrageous things.
And they're pretty outrageous.
They are. I said, okay, well, whoa.
Right.
Let's give whatever you saw officially coming out of my office. So here's a couple things. And I have this experience, I don't want to say daily. My wife experienced it last night in the airport as somebody was wanting to take a moment as I come off this very long flight and to scream at me. I always tell people, give me a Mother's Day card, please, because I get called you mother often. And it's from people on wings of both parties.
It would really be a Father's Day card in that sense.
Well, but calling me a mother.
Well, you're not the mother.
Oh, you're right. I never thought about that analysis here.
I don't know what the fuck that was at the end there, but he very clearly thought that it would be less controversial to not go on Hassan's stream, but it was actually more controversial because Cory Booker is a motherfucker who was smiling from ear to ear in pictures taken with Yoav Galan and Netanyahu, actual war criminals wanted by the International Criminal Court for genocide and crimes against humanity. So,
And that's, see, I mean, plain as day, man, plain as day. And, you know, I've said it before in other videos and I'll continue to say it, man. Our politicians are bought and paid for. It's all the evidence is there, right, wide out in the open for everybody to see. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why you go this hard in the paint against Hassan is because of all the negative things he said about Israel. That's it. That's the only reason. So you were told, like, you better not go on this show. You better not.
I dare you. I double dare you, motherfuckers.
You know where you know where your money is coming from. I dare you to go on Hassan's show. Watch what happened to you.
It's about to go down.
it seems incredibly weird and arbitrary to draw the line at a Twitch streamer, right? Especially when the base that you need to win over in 2028 agrees with Hassan Piker. And that's why these attacks on Hassan backfired so spectacularly. A Data for Progress poll commissioned by Zateo and Dropsite News found that a plurality of Democratic Party voters at 40% either strongly or somewhat approve of El-Sayed's campaign rally with Hassan Piker compared to 30% who somewhat or strongly disapprove. There's also 30% who simply don't know who he is, I'm assuming, but when they find out, they're probably going to approve because voters agree with Hassan on the substance. The same poll found that 62% of Democratic primary voters agree that candidates unwilling to stand up to AIPAC are less trustworthy on other issues. And Jewish voters agree as well. 66% of Jewish voters oppose AIPAC spending in Democratic primaries, and that number is 87% among Jewish Democratic voters in particular. That same poll found that 40% of Jewish voters across the political spectrum are less likely to support a candidate in a Democratic primary that's been endorsed by AIPAC. And the reason why AIPAC has become so politically toxic is because they're pressuring candidates to continue to fund Israel's genocide. So this is why the attacks on Hassan Piker blew up in their faces. Because
and when you everything, like, you know, every day we're seeing more and more the curtain is being pulled back on a lot of the atrocities that Israel's been committing, how involved in our politics they are, how this war, they played a major role in us getting into the war and us staying in the war, like all these different things, right? So for anybody to not come out and speak against that, or at least even acknowledge it, you know what I'm saying? You pay attention to how politicians are talking about it, and that, you know, it lets you know whether or not they have received or plan on receiving AIPAC money based on how they speak. And when you can no longer be a voice of the people that you the voice of the people that you represent in your states and your counties, whatever the case may be, then yeah, then we shouldn't be supporting you. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't want my government to be so beholden to another country's government and mission that they just don't listen to how I feel and respect my opinions and my principles and my morals. Like, yeah, when you're operating on behalf of another country, or heavily weighted on that other country's views and wants and needs, then yeah, you're not getting my vote. Fuck out of here.
The Democratic Party's base agrees with Hassan Piker, and falsely claiming that he's anti-Semitic simply doesn't land anymore because Americans agree with his position. Not to mention, there's far more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists in America. So this idea that anti-Zionism is tantamount to anti-Semitism, it's just absurd. It's not hitting the way that it used to because the base now knows about the situation and the lies that politicians have told them for decades to justify Israel's oppressive system of apartheid, and politicians who've condoned that are exposing how full of shit they are on other issues pertaining to social justice. But like it or not, Democrats know that their support for Israel is no longer tenable, as evidenced by the fact that AIPAC Democrats have to go out of their way to hide their support. There's a reason why they're saying that they're endorsed by Elect Chicago Women, for example, as opposed to just AIPAC, because that is politically toxic. And another reason why I know they know that this position is no longer tenable is because a record number of Senate Democrats begrudgingly voted to cut off weapons to Israel, or I should say they voted to not send more weapons to Israel, which is a small but significant step. As Matt Sledge put it in an article for The Intercept, the dam broke because all but 7 Senate Democrats voted for Bernie Sanders' resolution to block the sale of bombs and bulldozers to Israel. The 7 who voted against it include Chuck Schumer, Richard Blumenthal, Chris Coons, Catherine Cortez Masto, John Fetterman, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Jackie Rosen. And on one hand, it's infuriating that these Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, who's supposed to be the fucking leader, are still openly defying their base in 2026 on this issue. And this vote should be the final nail in the coffins of their careers. But on the other hand, it's still remarkable.
Do y'all think it's going to be the final nail? And you know what I'm saying? Do you think their careers are over? I'm not so positive. I hope so. They need to be going, but I'm not confident that we'll be able to get them out of here.
Remarkable to know that we've come so far, because this would be inconceivable just a couple of years ago. The fact that the overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats, including the likes of Cory Booker and Alyssa Slotkin, are voting to not send more bombs to Israel. It is a sign that the left has won, that moral people have won. Because people like Cory Booker and Alyssa Slotkin, they have to do this because they want to run for president, and they know that they can't keep funding a genocidal state and be viable in the 2028 primaries. Now, that doesn't wash away the blood off of their hands since they voted again and again to send Israel weapons that they've used on children. But the fact that they feel like they have to vote in favor of Bernie Sanders' resolution is a sign of victory, and I think that we should celebrate that. And I think that it really speaks to why this Hassan Piker smear campaign backfired so badly, because when Democratic voters learn about what Hassan Piker is saying and what his actual positions are, they agree. But if he's persona non grata because he has anti-Israel positions, then they feel like they are too. It's like the Democratic Party's base is getting the middle finger from the people who are supposed to represent them. So in attacking Hassan, all that they did was make him more powerful, and they showed how out of touch they are, which is now forcing them to course correct if they even want a shot at being viable in the 2028 primaries. And we're seeing this dynamic play out across the country. In Nancy Pelosi's old district, Scott Wiener, the AIPAC-backed frontrunner, is running against Shoykat Chakrabarti, who was AOC's chief of staff, and Chakrabarti is surging right now, and he's just 5 points behind Wiener.
I think it's weird that she was doing an interview the other day and she didn't support him or endorse him. Not support. Support's the wrong word. She didn't endorse him. And I just think that's strange. Like, he was her, formerly on her team. I don't understand why she wouldn't come out and support him. The whole political game that people are playing, like, obviously people are saying she's got aspirations of running in 2028. She's talking about, I got to think about what role I want to play in the party and things of that nature. I don't understand why you wouldn't come out and support somebody that used to be on your team. Seems weird.
Only because he's running a very progressive campaign, but because he's not mincing words when it comes to Israel.
Yesterday, Israel killed over 250 people in Lebanon, and they didn't just target military bases. They targeted the most densely populated residential neighborhoods. They did this right after we agreed to a ceasefire with Iran, and Lebanon was clearly in that ceasefire because Pakistan, who brokered that agreement, said so. Look, this administration has admitted that we are in this war because of Israel.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces.
And as soon as there's a chance for peace, Israel destroyed it by launching the largest attack to date on Lebanon. That's because Israel doesn't want this war to end, and they know that America's leaders are just going to blindly follow and keep sending American troops and tens of billions of dollars to keep funding this war. Israel is already committing genocide in Gaza, and now they're doing ethnic cleansing in Lebanon. So if it wasn't clear before, we need to sanction Israel, not fund them.
But while Chakrabarti...
So we're going to stop this one there because I don't want this video to get too long. That's the Humanist Report. Y'all can go to his channel if y'all want to catch the whole video. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Like, obviously, yeah, this backfired for, you know, establishment Dems, the centrist Dems, whatever. And Abdul El-Sayed is doing better in that race. And hopefully, you know, I've been paying attention. I don't vote in Michigan, so it's not, you know, not my, you know, I've got no stake in this race. But he, you know, I've heard him speak. I heard, you know, his take on some issues, and hey. Yeah, seems like a good dude. And I hope he ends up taking that one, especially with some of the bullshit I've seen from some of the other candidates. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. If y'all learned something with this one, make sure y'all share it with your people. Keep the information flowing. Keep the conversation going. And until next time, I'll holla at you.
Hating on my energy. I don't think you wanna be my enemy. I pop out, they go wild, so celebrity. Too busy winning, I forgot that I got frenemies.